Once more, I welcome you to The Truth in a Nutshell. This is Hand of Help Ministries outreach here on YouTube, and since I've been informed that these series are being put on DVDs as well and made available, well, welcome to those of you who have ordered this teaching as well. As always, I am Michael Boldea, your host, and today we will be continuing our discussion on the vigilant warrior and what it is that we must expect, prepare for, as well as what our attitude towards confrontation must be. Now, during the last program, we began our discussion with the dangers of second-guessing God and how a disheartening amount of individuals insist that they know better than their general and go off on their own, making it up as they go along with no accountability, with no covering, with no answerability to anyone or anything but themselves. Now, this is a dangerous trend, and it is one that will lead to disastrous ends for many who believe themselves to be above the established order of God's Word. As I said, nowadays we are seeing untold numbers of believers disregarding the direct orders of their general, thinking themselves wiser and more astute than he. Though they've never been in battle, though they've never seen a skirmish, though most have never even held a sword or strapped on a breastplate, they are certain of their intellectual superiority only to become as fools when the consequences of their short-sightedness come to fruition. Whenever we utter the words, "I think," and do so knowing full well that what we are thinking contradicts the Bible and what the Bible clearly says, we are ourselves become the short-sighted fools I speak of. A soldier without weapons is a soldier at a disadvantage. Even though the movies insist that one man with a toothpick, a shoelace, and a compass can take on an entire army on foreign soil without knowing the terrain, well, between the guy with the knife and the guy with the gun usually wins. If two men of equal proficiency only differed in their weapons at their disposal, then logic would dictate the man who was better equipped, who had access to more weapons, would win out over the one who was not. Now, meeting the enemy on the battlefield is a hard enough task when we're fully equipped and have every weapon at our disposal, in our arsenal. Even then, the devil gets in a few blows and even manages to fell some men who we thought basically undefeatable and beyond the enemy's reach. This often happens if the individual in question is either distracted or not sufficiently equipped for the task at hand. As I've said before, the easiest way to get one's clock thoroughly cleaned is to underestimate one's enemy and go into battle unprepared, unfocused, and ill-equipped. We cannot take anything for granted in battle. No soldier ignores the fundamentals of making sure his gear is clean and that everything is working as it ought, because he knows that his life depends on whether his gun will fire or his sword will cut. We must make it a priority to not only make certain that we have all the weapons we can get our hands on in our possession, we must also make certain they are ready for warfare when the time comes. I have quite a few friends who are into guns, who own guns and enjoy shooting them at the range or to go hunting, and to the last, every man is meticulous about cleaning his weapon after use, making sure everything is as it ought to be for the next time he goes out shooting or hunting. Now, this notion of always being ready, of always having sharpened swords and battle-ready armor, must be as second nature to us, an extension of who we are and what we are. A soldier never stops being a soldier, nor should a Christian ever stop being a Christian, regardless of his surroundings or the people he comes into contact with. I see a man in uniform and I know that he's either Navy, Army, Marine, or Air Force, based on the aforementioned uniform. Now, men should likewise be able to tell that we're Christians by our countenance, our conduct, our speech, our decisions, and our behavior. No, it's not about works. It's about mirroring Jesus. It's not about earning our salvation, but rather about manifesting the fruit salvation ought to have wrought in us upon encountering the Christ. Words without action are meaningless. I can tell my wife I love her, but if my every action contradicts my proclamation, she will realize something is amiss. She will see that all I am doing is saying some words which have no meaning because there is no action undergirding them. Many today say they love Jesus, then never do a thing to show that love. They have no desire to spend any time with him. They have no desire to serve him. They have no desire to obey him. They have no desire to know him, and yet they proclaim, and vociferously so, that they belong to him. Many today say they are soldiers for the cause of Christ, and never follow through in defending the selfsame Christ for whom they said they were a soldier. It is because they follow through with action that some men are counted to be men of their word, and not simply because they spoke the words. Now, I know men who are men of their word, and I know blowhards who talk a big game but never follow through with anything. I know men who say little and do much, and I also know men who say much and do very little. It's not about words. It's about action. It's not the theory, it's the practical application of faith and salvation that we must endeavor to live out daily. The same is true for those who consider themselves soldiers for Christ. There is a marked difference between a man who says and a man who does. And the man who does usually doesn't say so much. The man who does knows the hardships of battle. He knows the draining effects it has on one's vitality. And he knows there is no glory in war, but only in victory. And as such, he does all he can to stand victorious when the dust has settled and the departed have been counted. There are a lot of talkers out there, but fewer and fewer doers. Most of the time, people are too busy promoting themselves, their new books, their products, their magic water from the wellspring of the forgotten fountain, or some other nonsense to be bothered with actually doing something for the kingdom. It is sad, but it is likewise true. And all one need do in order to see the veracity of the words that I'm speaking is to open their eyes and look around. People nowadays seem to have an aversion to doing. They have an aversion to getting their hands dirty or exerting themselves or risking anything more than a couple bucks each Sunday at church. If we desire to be soldiers of the cross, if we desire to be warriors in the truest sense of the word, then every day, all day, without fail, we risk it all. We lay our lives on the line, we obey our orders without equivocation, and we go about the hard task of doing that which we were commanded to do, without attempting to second-guess God, without attempting to question our orders, without trying to pass the buck and get someone else to do the heavy lifting in our stead. We do the work because we've been called upon to do the work. And because we know that the God who sees all will reward all in due season. From the looks of it, we will have one more truth-packed part in this series, and that'll be coming up next week. But for now, we must say farewell, adieu, goodbye, and so forth, because our 10 minutes is almost up, and I wouldn't want to go over if I can help it. As always, thank you for joining us. And if you are enjoying these teaching videos, please let us know. Until next time, this has been The Truth in a Nutshell. May God bless you.